Hey guys, Northeast Survival and Preparedness. I want to talk more about some ropes tonight and an easy rope trick for tensioning a tarp with no knots. And it's a method you can do one-handed, and you can do it while you're injured, you can do it with gloves, you can do it very easily. And all you're going to need for this is a small bungee cord. I mean, literally you can get one of those tiny little 4 or 5, 6-inch ones, and a prussik loop. Prussik loop is something, I used to work search and rescue. I was on a team in my young 20s, and it's, and of course I learned self-rescue and rope rescue on the team. And a prussik loop, and it's something, if you don't know about it, it's definitely worth Googling and looking up some YouTube videos on, is basically using a loop of cord to make a knot that self-tensions that you can use to basically climb ropes and make footholds and things like that. So really neat thing, so do look at it if you're not familiar with those, because a lot of what we're doing here is using that principle to tie a knot. Now let's just say, first of all guys, before we get into this, I know that mainstream theory on how to tie a tarp is to tie it with a bowline on one end and some kind of a hitch on the other end that you can tension the tarp with. Whether it's, you know, the taut line hitch, the Siberian hitch, or slippery hitch, whatever hitch. You see a lot of videos by guys like Ray Mears and Dave Canterbury that show you how to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that method whatsoever. It's a great method. You should know those knots, practice it, learn it. But what I want to show you here is an alternative, because this is an alternative you can do if you're injured or if you're freezing to death of hypothermia and you have poor motor skills, fine motor skills particularly, that you can do. And if you have this all set up in your backpack, you can have set up a tarp or whatever you need to help in your survival very quickly without knots. Very simply. Okay, and one more thing before we get in the show, guys. I know I'm rambling on here. Real quick about knots. First of all, when you're tying a bowline or a hitch, there's two things that can happen to a knot. First of all is if it's exposed to rain or wind, that knot could potentially slip and come undone, or that knot could potentially break just due to pressure. The very act of tying a knot reduces the amount of load that a rope can withstand. Some knots can actually take away from a rope's strength by as much as 50%. Other knots are closer to 95, but they do take away from that strength of the rope. This method here does not weaken your rope. I've been out in the woods and I've had bowlines come undone. I've had ropes snap in high wind. This method here I have yet to have fail me, so I do like it and do use it. And it's so simple, guys. You know, you're gonna like it. So let me show you. Look at that little bug. Came in from the outside. I was just outside. I did actually just attempt to film this outside, and it didn't work out. You know, the focus wasn't good, and you couldn't see what was going on in the tarp. So I'm deciding to kind of recreate this indoors using brightly colored materials that you'll be able to see better. So I hope this works out better than my last attempt. So over here we're going to have a chair, just to show you, because it should contrast. Being a darker chair, it should contrast well. Very simply, what we're going to do is use this prussik loop to make an anchor. Now, how we're going to connect this is you're going to have one side that's going to be connected with just an anchor, and you have another side that's going to be connected with an anchor and a bungee cord. Now, your anchor can be as simple as this: running your loop through, putting your other loop through that, and pulling it tight. Now, what's going on here? Your rope is doubled up, so you have twice as much strength on your rope. Pressure is being applied evenly to the tree or branch. There's no knot that can come undone whatsoever on this end, at least. So you have a really strong connection here, and you have quite a bit of friction because you actually have two ropes that are on the tree. So if you increase the amount of rope touching the tree, more friction, less likely you are to damage the tree, less likely this is to slide up and down or around. So how are you going to connect this end to your tarp? Very simple. And I actually pulled this out of my son's toy box because it's very bright and will show up great on camera. pretend this is the grommet on your tarp, or a grommet on your hammock, or a carabiner, or whatever you're using to hook up. Look at this. Through there, this very bright blue pen is a stick. Put that through, pull it tight. That will hold. If you do this with a stick and a tarp, I've never had this system fail. I mean, literally, I've done this in heavy storms. I've never had the stick fall out. And if you're really concerned about the stick falling out, guys, you can pull a little through there and just wrap it around a couple times. And then you have a little more, you know, friction on the stick, and you don't have to worry so much about it falling out. And still, there's no knot here. At the end of the day, when you go to leave, you pull that stick out, and bam, you're unhooked, and you can run. No knot here. You're literally just grabbing and run. Your takedown, instead of sitting there fumbling with wet knots in the cold with cold hands, boom, you just walked away. So, say you're looking at really heavy winds, and you're really worried that your rope is going to break or your tarp is going to come loose or whatever. You want a stronger connection than what I just showed you. There's two ways you can do that. One of them, of course, is basically to make what would be called an auto block in climbing, which is to basically wrap this around multiple times, creating essentially a big long nice pile of rope. This creates a lot of friction. You have very even pressure on the tree, so it's likely not going to hurt the tree at all, and it's not going to slide, and you can adjust the tension by wrapping more or less around. Now you have two ways you can do this. One is you can just literally hook these up to a carabiner, particularly if they're even. They're not even, but you can hook these up to a carabiner, to whatever. You can tie them in a knot, or you can just do this. Pull it through, and once again, you have no knot, and you see here, this is where the connection is on this rope. There's no pressure on that. All the pressure is going to be taken up on the friction. This right here is going to remain loose no matter how much you pull on it. So you don't have to worry about that little knot coming loose. So that, you have your anchor. And once again, hooking up to your tarp, same exact way. Put it through your grommet, put the stick through. Boom, your tarp's on. No knots, easy, simple. And you can take this apart one-handed. All that's holding it together is friction. You can tie this one-handed very easily. You can literally, if you're patient enough, do this one-handed. It's very easy to do if you're injured or hurt. Your other option is to kind of recreate a prussik knot, which is to basically bring your loop through, bring it through, kind of pull that tight, run it through again, put that through, and run it through a third time, and bring it through. That same idea, just done a little bit differently and tied a little bit differently. And once again, a lot of friction. Your rope is less likely to break because the pressure is going to be evenly spread out amongst all those fibers. And your connection, same exact thing. One more trick I'm going to show you, because these are essentially friction and they're not going to come undone because you do have that hitch on the end, is say you want to hang your backpack from the end of this and you're kind of out of rope. You can very easily just take a little piece of this, and you don't even have to tie a knot or nothing. Leave it down like this and just come around. And what I do is on the first one, just go over it, come back around again. On the second one, go under it, kind of straighten those out so they're nice and even, because the flatter they are, the more friction you're going to get. Then just run it through once or twice more. And then when you're at the end, you can drop that loop, or we'll pull it out of the way for purpose, just loosen that up a little bit, put that through, and you're done. You have your anchor to attach your tarp, and you have a little loop here where you can attach your backpack or gear or a flashlight or whatever. And you notice that that little knot is hanging at the bottom, so you never have to worry about that becoming part of the friction. Very good, strong, secure way. It's not going to slip up or down. It's not going to hurt the tree. That's a very strong way. Okay, so those are a couple ways you can hook it up. And what are you going to do on the other side that needs tension? Very simply, you're going to make the same exact anchor point, and literally all you're going to do is attach a small bungee cord and use that to tension to the tarp. Real simple, small bungee cord. Get one of the small 4-6 inch ones, really thick with a lot of tension on it, and you can pull your tarp very, very tight, and you don't have to worry about it coming undone. And at the end of the day, when you're unattaching it, you're literally, okay, what am I doing? You're pulling on the bungee cord, letting that go. And once again, one-handed, no knots to be untied. And this is not going to fail. Let's bring it back over here. This is not going to fail like a quick release knot. You see Ray Mears tying them all the time, those little quick release knots where he's got a little tail end hanging that he pulls and the knot comes real loose. Yeah, guys, if you've ever used one of those out in the woods, you know damn well that at some point you're going to accidentally grab it, or it's going to get caught on your gear and your tarp's going to be flapping in the breeze. I never use a quick release knot out in the woods because, if your gear getting wet, all that's holding it is some little tail piece, like of string. No. I like this system. It works very good for me for setting up tarps. It's very strong. It's never failed me. And if you buy good quality bungee cords, I've never had a bungee cord fail me either. So I've had these little end pieces come off, but that's about it. But generally bungee cords are very, very tough. And for tensioning a tarp, they work great. And this right here, weight-wise, you're talking literally an ounce or so. And the convenience you gain by having this stuff available, number one, you have a prussik loop in case you ever need to do some self-rescue or rope work. And number two, you have a very, very easy way to set up your tarp if you're injured, hurt, cold, sleepy, tired, whatever. Simple, easy, and that's what survival's about, is taking very easy ways to do things and implementing them. Guys, like I said, the other way, the bowline and the hitch is not wrong. Practice it, but practice this setup too, because if you're hurt, you may not be able to tie that bowline, and this may be your only way. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it helps and adds a little bit to your arsenal.